Hello, everybody. Welcome to another live chat session. It's one of those days. It's hot and sunny and having a beautiful morning. It's now early afternoon where I am. So welcome. Let me know you're here if you're here. And for those of you who are new, it's kind of a Q&A session, and you have to be a subscriber to participate in the chat for at least 5 minutes. And please keep it kind. And if you have an opposing opinion, that's fine. Just keep it kind. And yeah, so what do you want to talk about today? I have a few subjects in mind. Given all the things that are happening right now, I thought we would talk about some of the sort of contact, end of the world, the planes colliding, Barbenheimer, all of this talk of colliding or contact or coming together, the two worlds colliding. I thought we'd talk about that at least for a little while. And if you have anything else you want to talk about, you're welcome to bring it up in the chat. Let me know. Hit the like button. Yes, thank you very much, Natasha. Hit the like button and say hello. Let me know you're here. Also, if you like my work and feel you would like to support my channel and keep me going, I'd really appreciate that. Tips are welcome. There's a link in the description box, PayPal or XRP. So, hello, Miriam. Hello. Yeah, so it's been kind of a strange couple of weeks. I think it's been about 2 weeks now since the lady on the plane, the man on the plane. And then this week we've had the hype around Barbenheimer. If you've seen my video on that, it's quite revealing. I felt it was very obvious, but it's not obvious to anybody who's not aware of the symbolism and what it means. So it's always worth sharing. Hi, Leaves of Grass. Nolan Owen, hello. I'm glad you're all here. So yeah, I just keep putting them out because every time I do one of these decodes, I learn something new. Even though I know what the story is, I still discover new things. So it's well worth doing for me and for you, worth watching. And I did a decode on the Poseidon Adventure, which I uploaded to my website for contributors because it has footage from the film. And so I was not allowed to upload it to YouTube for obvious reasons. So it's there temporarily. It's as a bonus for people who've contributed. And so I'm going to have to refine it and revise it for viewing on YouTube, which is fine, but it will take me some time to do that. And some of the subtleties and some of the detail won't be in it anymore. So if you are a fan of the movie and you'd like to get, even if you're not, it's a well worthwhile video to watch and a well worthwhile movie to watch. Highly recommend it. I watched the 72 version, but the 2005 version looks really good too. And they're slightly different, but the story is the same. So yeah, that decode, I discovered some nuances and some details in that too that were well worth discovering. And the message gets more and more refined as I discover more details in all of these decodes. So, yeah, I mean, if you're not watching certain videos because you don't like the movie or the movie doesn't interest you, I highly recommend that you watch it anyway, because you will find it surprising. You might want to watch the movie, but at the very least, watch the video, because there will be a lot of revelations in that video that will help you with your ascension process, help you with your awakening, help you with understanding where we're at in the whole overall process. And and know what's going on and understand the nature of this reality. Miriam just watched the 1972 version. What did you think, Miriam? I mean, it's funny that, it's a little bit before my time, but it's funny that I had not heard of it before. Somebody mentioned it in the Discord. I think it was Discord. It was either Discord or it was in the chat. And someone mentioned it, and I think it was Discord. Anyway, I'd never heard of it before. And yet for a lot of people, it's their favorite film. And when they watched it, it really struck a chord because it speaks to your subconscious. So the decode will explain why it sits with you and why it stuck with you. But I find it odd that I'd never heard of it before. And it seemed like it was quite a big film. The special effects and everything for that time are pretty outstanding. And this was before Star Wars, before Superman, and those were big special effects movies. So, so it's a really well-made movie. What did you think of the Poseidon Adventure? I doubt has anybody seen Barbie or Oppenheimer yet. It's just come out, I think on Friday. Friday. And already it's gotten huge box office results. The weekend's not even over yet. I liked it, and you already told a little about it. I was explaining it to my partner. It was really fun. I liked that it was old. Felt like going back in time, going to see Barbie next Wednesday. Yeah, that's kind of how I felt too. I really like the movie was so well made that it kind of felt timeless, but I really appreciated it wasn't overhyped. It wasn't overdone. It was very straightforward movie, just told the story. And I really appreciated that about the Poseidon Adventure, the 72 version. I find that modern movies get a little carried away with like special effects and get carried away with like tension and drama and music and this sort of thing. But this was very natural feeling, and it was more concerned with the story and the characters and getting the message across, but it wasn't heavy-handed or anything. It felt very natural. So I really appreciated that. And I haven't seen the 2005 version, but it looks pretty good too. I'm going to see, you're going to see Barbie next Wednesday. I'm going to see it next week too. And I'm probably going to go see Oppenheimer as well in IMAX. I don't know. It's so pricey. But, I don't go anywhere. And so I guess it's kind of like an outing for me. So I just find it so pricey. Anyway, Brandon, hello. Can you explain the whole symbolism of yellow and blue? Well, yellow chakra, blue chakra. The yellow chakra is the solar plexus, and the blue chakra is the throat chakra. And then the two of them merging creates the green chakra, which is heart center. It's just the two worlds merging in the middle. That's why you've got the Ukraine flag, and in the Titanic or the Titan video that I did showed yellow and blue coming together over the window in the portal. And it's the merging of the two worlds. It's interesting because there's a lot, I wanted to discuss this properly in a video, but time and everything. I kind of touched on it in the two worlds video where I showed you the layout of the two worlds, and the world above and the world below, or the world in the middle. Either way, it's fine, same thing. But what I wanted to explain a little bit more was that the merging requires merging on about, I think, 4 levels. So there's like the physical level, spiritual level, the psychological level, and I can't remember the 4th one, but this is why we have similar stories with different gods, because it's emerging on different levels. So you have, the I'm going to get into this more specifically in a video, I think. But you've got the story of Mars and Venus, but you've also got the story of Mercury and Venus, and you got the story of what's the other one? Can't think off the top of my head here, but there's different levels, and those things have to merge. But also, even the good side, like the feminine positive, has to merge with the feminine negative, and same with the masculine. They have to face each other and merge together. So this is all about the wholeness, or the one story collapse. So all aspects of yourself, your divided self, have to come together as one in acceptance and love. So that's why there's stories with different gods coming together in a very similar kind of way. But ultimately, the big merge is heart with mind. That's the big mind merge. So when you, where am I? Yes, agree, kind of sweet. Yeah. Nolan, if you have a moment, can you please touch upon what you mean by mom wow? Well, mom wow is the sine wave. So it's the M and the W. It's the IXXI. It's the XX pattern. It's the sine wave. So the mom wow is the two worlds mirrored in each other. So one is mom and the other is wow. And then you merge them together. That's what that is. Miriam, when you go on a weekday, it's cheap. At least in the Netherlands. I think it might be cheaper here too. The Sikh flag as well. Khalsa colors are yellow and blue. Okay. Yeah. So like the merging yellow and blue, and then you've got red and blue, that has to merge. And so the red and blue is the purple, the royal color purple. And the yellow and blue is green. And then you've got a turquoisey color with the green and the blue. So there's a lot of merging going on. You're welcome, Nolan. But yeah, I mean, I have to still look into that a little bit more in detail before I explain it properly, because like I can see that that's what has to be done, but I have to get some more information for it to be a proper video. I don't have that information yet. So anybody have any synchronicities or symbols of this sort of thing going on in their world, in their life? It's like last time I talked, I think I had halo synchronicities. I haven't had that so much. I don't think I've had too much. I had one. I can't remember now what it was. Can't remember what it was. Oh, well. But yeah, anybody have any synchronicities pertaining to this world coming together, or anything even? No, it doesn't even have to be connected to that. There was an explosion in South Africa. Anybody hear about that? It was a underground gas explosion, apparently. It lifted up the road, split it in two, And so pretty big deal. But what I found really interesting about it is there's a story about the people, like there's, I guess, pirates trying to steal gold from abandoned gold mines, that they're blowing them up to try and get gold out of them. And the media is not talking about it. The reason I find this interesting is because why are they not talking about it? If they know that this is what's going on, why don't they say something? And the other thing is these forest fires, the train derailments, forest fires, and there's been other incidents where this heat or electricity heat is coming out of the ground, causing all of these incidences, and the media is covering that up too. They're not saying anything. And then with the people on the plane, the way the media covered that up, saying she was drunk, saying she was crazy, she's having a psychotic episode, calling her Karen. And then same with the guy on the plane in England or the UK, and coming from, where was he coming from? Croatia. They treated that hostilely as well. So they're covering up both stories. So why are they not just coming clean and talking about it normally? Why are they covering it up and lying about it? Which kind of makes me think that there's truth to it, because they don't want us to know something. So if they don't want us to know something, then somebody knows something about it, because they're deliberately covering it up, right? So this is just all speculation, as to, just because I'm seeing a pattern with these major incidences, and why the way the media is treating them, they're not saying what's going on. So why? I can understand them not saying. I mean, even then, they could say that these fires are started from the energy underground. Maybe they don't even know. Maybe they're not aware of it. I don't know. But the way they treated these people on the plane was very suspicious. To say that they are drunk or crazy, or something's off with them, it is unusual, even for a tragedy, because at least with the tragedies, their story is consistent. They don't make stuff up about it. If there's a story, like with the story with the people on the plane, the story's not consistent. On one hand, they say that she saw something, and some people are saying she saw a reptilian. I don't know where the reptilian thing came from, but it's out there in the mainstream. And they're saying that this, the two people that came out as lying about who they were, saying they were on the plane and they were the passengers she freaked out about, when they're both lying. And yet people are still saying that that's legitimate. So there's all this confusion, all this fakery around it, which is different from what they usually do. So it just is so suspicious. Why the lies? Why the big mess? Why not have a consistent story? And part of it could be that they're just trying to throw shade on the story, to say it's more fake news. But it's like, well, where's the fake news coming from? Is it coming from the media, or is it coming from the actual footage? And what exactly is fake about it? It's just so weird. Miriam, islands off Rhodos in Greece is on fire now, and they have to cover it over here because a lot of Dutch are on holiday over there. Reina, hello. Yeah, Greece. My gosh, like Greece was on fire some time ago. It was last year, pretty badly. So, I mean, you have to tell it, report it in the news, but the way they're covering it is very suspicious. And somebody had also shown satellite footage showing how these fires started all at the same time in multiple states or multiple provinces, which is not natural. I mean, it can be natural, but if you're looking at it in terms of what you would traditionally think of as a cause for starting a forest fire, which is usually attributed to somebody carelessly leaving something burning, or it's extremely dry conditions, and so the sun causes something to spark and it just lights on fire, so it spontaneously starts to burn. It wouldn't happen this way in those circumstances. The only way that this would happen is if there's something running underneath the ground that would come to the surface to spark it up, which is what it looks like. And there's like these like fingers, I guess, popping up all across the North America that's starting these fires simultaneously, which is very weird. And so if you look at in terms of, say, you look at lightning and how that behaves, and you imagine that running underground, then it would make sense, because you have the sort of fingers or branches out of the lightning that would reach up out of the ground and just spark the ground on fire. I can foresee that's something like that happening. So, but nobody's looking at this stuff. I mean, isn't this their job? Like, the media just like spews out some garbage. They just off the top of their head. They don't interview anybody. They don't find any details. They don't find any research. Nobody's looking into it. They just make assumptions and they just report it, and it doesn't even seem to matter. It's very weird. Everything's just so weird now, and hollow and fake and chaotic. You think so too? Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so yeah, it's just all very strange indeed. But anybody else find it strange? So yeah, I mean, that's kind of my thoughts for what's been happening lately. And in terms of what's been going on with me or what I've been up to, aside from those 2 videos, I've been watching more of Once Upon a Time. And I'll say it again, well worth watching. It's kind of a must watch. It's very revealing. It talks about everything that I've been talking about for the last 3 years. And it's very entertaining as well. Strange over here as well. We had the biggest storm ever, but only trees fell a lot. Not a single house or car, just the trees. Interesting. That's very strange. We had a storm similar to that last May. Trees fell over, but not much else. Raina, so glad you're rewatching Once Upon a Time. I haven't been able to catch up on last week's chat. Very busy, but yes, that show is one of my favorites. I need to fully rewatch. Yeah, it's like I said, like I started watching it when it came out, and I was all excited about it, and then for some reason I must have got caught up in something else, or lost track of it, or wasn't interested. I don't know what happened, but so that was okay, so yeah, 2011, 2012, that was about, I went through a huge life upheaval around that time, so it could have been that. But yeah, I think I watched part of season 2 the first time, and now looking at it again, knowing what I know, it is like watching it brand new, because you see the truth in it. You see so much more to it. And it's interesting, somebody in the Discord said that too, and it's for me, for people like us watching these movies, I don't really look I don't look at the story on the surface as much anymore. I'm looking through it to the other side for what it's telling us. And like movies like Don't Worry Darling, to me, are brilliant because the movie on the surface doesn't make a whole lot of sense to most people who aren't awake, and then the people who are awake can see through to the other side, and so for them it's brilliant. And that's kind of how I watch everything now. It's because, and I've said this before, but it's because the media is built the same way that this world is built, where there's a superficial ego crap on the surface of the conscious mind, and then the subconscious is the truth. And so now I'm seeing it this way: the subconscious is on the top and the superficial crap is on the bottom. So that's what's happening, is the subconscious is coming to the surface and the superficial crap is going to the bottom. It's like the superficial stuff is like the delivery system for the truth, and it's not meant to be the main focus. And yet, because we forgot ourselves and we think that the physical is real and all there is, we don't look past it to what's underneath, when we should be looking at it the other way around. Miriam, it's great, but 7 seasons of 22 episodes. It's a lot, but it's good. It's good viewing. So it's the first season for sure is worth watching. And I'm on season 2, almost done season 2, and it goes quickly. But I'm going to watch the whole thing, and if I see that it's not worth watching the whole thing, I'll let you know. But so far, season 1 is a must watch, and there's some stuff in season 2, but season 1 was way more powerful and loaded. I agree. Oh, Brandon, when will you do the video on yellow and blue and red and blue? I don't know. I don't know, because I've got a lot of other stuff going on at the moment. It'll come out when it needs to come out. One of the things that I wanted to work on and touch on is, and I wrote out some notes yesterday on it, is the false light awakening, the false awakening, because a few people have asked me about it, and I've noticed that a lot of people are still caught up in the deception, and so I felt like it's worthwhile explaining the difference between being caught up in the deception and on the true ascension path, because a lot of people get confused, and it's very easy to get confused because of the illusion. And I don't want to get too heavily into it here, because it's very complex conversation, but I'm willing to talk about it a little bit, because essentially what it boils down to is, we talked about this in the Discord briefly, is mastering the 3 pillars. So there's the left, the right, and the middle. You want to be in the middle, but you also need to master the other 2 pillars. You can't ignore them. So a lot of what I see in like online circles or truth circles or spiritual, new age, Christian, like all of the various, groups, I guess, is that, well, they're usually on one of the pillars and they're ignoring the other pillars. And by pillars, there's, the red versus the blue, the sun versus the moon, the left versus the right, the good versus evil. And so it's all this, like, I'm on the good pillar and you're on the bad pillar, and you have to come to a place where you understand the wholeness and appreciate the wholeness and see the full purpose of all of it and embrace all of it. So you can't be full of fear. You can't be finger pointing and saying, I'm over here and this is good and this is bad. It all serves a purpose, and not everybody is going to ascend because they're holding on to certain things. They're holding on to things tied to the physical. They're holding on to fear. They're holding on to resentment. They're holding on to like beliefs that they have to learn to let go of. And there's all sorts of things that they're holding on to that they refuse to let go of, that won't allow them to get to that place, which is fine. It's what has to happen. And so, if you're on one of those pillars, you're not going to get through. So, and there's a lot of people who will have a piece of the puzzle, but they'll still have some delusion, or, not, I don't want to say delusion because of the sort of connotations it drums up, but they're still holding on to the illusion. And there's illusion that it's going to, it's, how do I explain it? It's like you're holding on to some kind of belief or ego, or there's some kind of attachment there. It's, no matter what it is it some kind of attachment to the physical that's going to hold you back. So it's a very complex thing to explain, but a lot of people are asking about it, and it's important to talk about it, because I also see a lot of people who are kind of intellectualizing the middle pillar, claiming to be on it, and they're not. And it's a lot of those people are deceivers. So when you hear them talking about the middle pillar, and they seem to know about it and they seem to claim to be on it, if you don't know what it's like to be on the middle pillar, then you can easily get persuaded by something like that and believe that what they're saying is middle pillar talk, but it's not. So trying to recognize those subtleties is very difficult, and it comes from experience. So in a lot of ways, like a lot of times, if you talk to people who are still in fear and you point out that they're in fear, they don't agree with you because they don't know that they're in fear. They've been in it so long, they can't recognize it. It's only when they're out of the fear that they realize that they were in the fear. So that's the same kind of thing. And so yeah, that's why it's important, but it's it's difficult to talk about. Where am I here? Yes, watching a movie is totally different experience now. Even rewatching is like I never saw before. Yeah, I mean, I watched Westworld, I think 2 times all the way through, and I could keep watching it because there's so much in it, and I keep picking up new things because as I as I learn more about this place and see more, I go back and watch it and I see more in that. It reveals more to me. And so it's kind of like this constant source of information and truth. So it's definitely worth rewatching things. I see a lot of people attaching themselves to either pillar instead of taking the middle path by merging the two. Natasha, yes, exactly. So it's the easiest tell is if they're talking about the evil elites, they're on a pillar. That's the simplest tell. If they don't understand that this whole place is here for the purpose of your awakening and everything is love, if they don't know that, then they're still on a pillar. They're still in the illusion. And it's fine. It is fine. It's just if you don't want to be there, you have to recognize that. If you want to be there, then that's fine too. You're totally welcome to be wherever you want. And it's just a matter of where do you want to be? What do you want? A lot of people, they think they want to get out, but then they end up getting stuck on the pillars. And the thing about the pillars is they'll keep you bouncing back and forth. Like they said in Back to the Future, Michael J. Fox says to his uncle, you better get used to these bars, kid, because he's bouncing back and forth in between the bars. That's bouncing back and forth between the duality. It'll keep you going back and forth in the delusion, in the illusion. I mean, it is a delusion, but it's the illusion. So, and some people have to stay there because that's their role. That's their job here. Also, there's an offshoot of the show called Once Upon a Time in Wonderland. I haven't seen it yet. Oh, really? Okay. That sounds like fun. I saw 2 seasons now, still not bored. Yeah, I'm not bored. I enjoy it. I'm having a really good time. It's very confusing for people who start to get interested in spirituality, as there are a lot of teachers, but most of them seem very empty. Claire Sunflower. Welcome, Claire. I've seen you comment before, but I think this is your first time in the chat, so welcome. It is very confusing. I agree with you. And there are a lot of teachers, and a lot of it does seem empty. And part of my recent frustration is the other day I was looking for some videos to watch and was hoping to find something to, inspire, or, something that was kind of meaty. And everything I was finding was, like you say, hollow, because like I was saying to a friend of mine, the part in Don't Worry, Darling, where, if you've seen my video, Get Into My Car, the part where the explosion happens. So there's 3 cars, the red, the blue, and the silver in the middle, driving up the desert together. And then the black car comes this way and they collide. And then the silver car shoots right through. It was kind of like that. So if you're on the middle pillar, you're the one who shoots right through, and you leave behind the other 2 pillars, the red and the blue. And you kind of get to a point where you feel like the people on these pillars, you can't understand what they're saying anymore. It's either like nails on a chalkboard or hollow, superficial nonsense. And it's kind of isolating a little bit because there are very few people in the middle, and you have to merge the two. So even though, if you're on a polarized pillar and you're on one side or the other, you feel like you're kind of moving apart. And so the languages, it just seems like a foreign language almost. It's like that you don't relate to them anymore. It doesn't connect with you anymore. And that's what I'm finding is it's like that. So Claire says, yes, true. Rainbow Warrior, hello. Would be an interesting video. It can be very confusing, but one way I can point it out is anyone who is being closed-minded. Yeah, like, it's interesting. Okay, so the idea of closed-mindedness is a very interesting term because, as with everything here, you can get into a situation where somebody presents you with information about something and you don't entertain it, or you don't even look into it, or, I think it depends on your perspective, because, so say, for example, you've looked into some conspiracy that's very popular, and you've done a tremendous amount of research. You come out of the other side and you're like, okay, I know what this is all about, and this is where my position is on it. And somebody comes up to you and says, they're adamant that this is something you need to pay attention to, and you say, well, I've looked into it, done my research, I'm not interested. I don't think that it's pertinent, and I don't need to look into it anymore. That person who's staunchly into it will say you're very closed-minded. You cannot be closed-minded if you've already looked into it. However, you don't really know to what extent that person's looked into it, generally speaking. So it could be an element of closed-mindedness preventing them from seeing it, but it could also be that the other person is closed-minded because they can't accept that you have a different opinion, having done that research. So, that's where the mirror comes into play a little bit. So it gets a little bit tricky in defining what closed-mindedness means or what it is, because I've noticed, like the typical narcissistic tactic of projection is rampant, and it gets to be very complicated, because a lot of times, especially if people are touchy about something, so somebody says something and then someone reacts in a sort of in a way that's not, it's a little bit out there, it's a little bit volatile, a little bit over emotional, in kind of an overreaction to what you say. Then there's probably some projection going on, and then if they take what you say and they attack you for it, there's probably some projection going on. And then if you say back to them and say, well, you're the one who's doing that, I'm not doing that, then they'll say you're projecting. So, it gets to be a bit of a mirror game, a bit of a game of Pong, so to speak. But yeah, like in some ways, yes, being closed-minded to something is an indicator. I think, in the sense that if you present them with something and they absolutely refuse to look at it, and they've never looked at it, that's being closed-minded, because you've made up your mind without researching it. And again, like I said, like that closed-mindedness, if they look into it in that state, they are already made up their mind, so they won't see it. So it will prevent them from seeing. So they have to open their mind and be open to the possibility and say, oh, that's very interesting. I'll take a look at it. And then, either they're not ready to see it or they won't see it or what have you. But yes, it is an indicator. Long story short. Short story long. Brandon, what are archons? Why don't you tell me? What do you think archons are? Because personally, like, I've touched on that in my research with the Gnosticism and everything, but I don't really put a lot of focus on to archons. To me, archons are thought forms. That's kind of how I see archons. But I'd like to hear what you have to say. What do you think archons are? Oh, hang on. I missed a comment up here. Barbenheimer video was amazing. Really enjoyed it. Thanks, Rainbow Warrior. Adam Gross, hello. Hey, Yolanda, you are doing amazing work. Barbenheimer really hit home. Oh, thank you. I'm glad you liked it. I had a lot of fun making that video. To me, I think Barbie is going to be a really good movie. It was funny. I was telling my mom about it. And I said, well, she's like, well, what is it about? I said, well, it's about Barbie everything's going great until one day things start to go wrong and she starts to question the nature of her reality. And my mom laughed and she's like, Barbie questioning the nature of her reality just really sounded so funny to her. And when it came out of her mouth, I found it really funny because I can see it from her perspective. So yeah, like I said, yeah, no, Barbie has an existential crisis. And so my mom thought, well, maybe it's worth watching, because she found it like the juxtaposition of this. My mom does not like Barbie. Absolutely doesn't like Barbie. Wouldn't let me have Barbie as a kid. She hated it. She doesn't like the idea of Barbie. Doesn't like what it represents for women. So for her to entertain the idea of Barbie being a good movie is kind of mind-blowing. And the idea of like the juxtaposition of the stereotypical dumb blonde plastic Barbie doll, cartoonish fakery, the epitome of everything that is wrong with what it represents a woman, to have this existential crisis and this really deep, meaningful moment is really funny. But I think that there's a lot to be said for all the stuff that's coming out of the Barbie lore or Barbie core and things that are trending with Barbie is really wonderful, because it also taps into feminine, and that it's the things that the society has reflected onto Barbie as what I just said, as being, the epitome of everything that's wrong with what it means to be a woman or, feminine. It's kind of caricaturized it, or, made her into this unobtainable ideal of what it means to be a woman. You have to have big boobs, small breasts, small waist, and curvy hips, and stand on your tippy toes, wearing high heels and funny outfits all the time, and be perfectly coiffed, and have all of this stuff in order to be accepted as, a woman, I guess. And now it's kind of coming around to embracing that there's nothing wrong with that. And it's like, you have movies like Legally Blonde, where she is all feminized up and looking kind of Barbie-like, and she goes into college in Harvard and they laugh at her. It's like, oh, if you look like that, you can't possibly go to school here, which is wrong. why can't you have both? Why can't you be all dolled up and look great and embrace some the more like extreme feminists, feminism, like feminine stuff, and be smart? So, yeah, this is why a lot of people, I think, it comes from this sort of resentment of you can't be both pretty and smart. It's not possible. And same goes for men. Like, you can't be both good looking and smart. They say God doesn't give with both hands. They're just ridiculous. So I think that there's some positivity that will come out of it in embracing the more feminine, girly side of Barbie, in that sense. But it's kind of a strange. It's kind of strange when you think about it, coming out at this time where there's like a lot of talk about misogyny and also like the gender issue. It's like it's all over the place, total chaos of, you got this extreme ideal of what it is to be a woman, and then you got this other ideal of, well, what is a woman from Matt Walsh and that sort of thing. So that it's kind of all over the place. Rainbow Warrior, if you're willing to look into it, I wouldn't consider them closed-minded, but yeah, I consider what you're saying for sure. Yeah, I mean, it's a complex issue. Adam is here, yay! And you're driving. Adam Gross, another big thing happened in entertainment on Friday the 21st. The greatest soccer player of all time, whose name is Lionel Messi, made his soccer debut in the U.S. Okay, I'm not into sports anymore, so I don't really keep tabs on that. But Lion, friend of mine, she's been having synchronicities with the word brave, which kind of is tied to lion. So that's interesting. Rainbow Warrior, I've had someone who was projecting while telling me I'm projecting, right? It's okay. So like these sorts of psychological terms and all of this stuff that's been going on, like projection and narcissism and gaslighting and all of this stuff. It's fascinating, but I've taken a very close look at what that means, what it looks like, what it means, because you get into the finger pointing of, okay, well, what's really going on here? Why is this person behaving this way? What is this behavior? Why is this happening? Why are they doing this? And if are they projecting or am I projecting? Or are we both projecting? Like, what is happening here? So while trying to understand someone else's behavior, and I'm also trying to understand my own behavior and what I'm doing, but the whole projection thing is very strange. And the psychology behind narcissists is fascinating. Narcissists are basically a literal mirror. They are the mirror, and it just bounces stuff off. Like there's nothing there, and they just, whatever happens, nope, it's your fault, it's your fault, it's your fault. There's just nothing there. Adam Gross, I should differentiate. His new team is in Miami, and they play the pink jerseys Barbie. Oh, interesting. It's like the Pink Ladies from Greece. He scored a game-winning goal in the last minute, and the headline said how perfectly scripted it was. Oh, really? Okay. See, there's another thing that's coming out. Like, on one hand, they're telling truths in the media. Other hand, they're disguising the truth and, telling all sorts of nonsense to cloud it all over and make it look weird and chaotic. So weird. 2 atoms in here. Yes, there are 2 atoms in here. Stein wins. Archons are the Nagas, the reptile humanoids on the pyramids. That's what it said in a video I watched the other day. Okay. Yeah, you know, like they what's his name? David Icke talks about the Archons, and I do think, if I remember, I think he does tie them to the reptilians. And so, yeah, I don't know. I don't really know much more about them than that. And so, you know, if you want to talk about it, I'm open to talk about it, but I don't have too much to add about it because I looked at it several years ago and just kind of moved on. But thank you for sharing that piece of information. Roger Prescott, TrueLove, always love your live broadcast. Thanks for all you offer. Thanks, Roger. Sunflower, that's funny. I wasn't planning on watching Barbie or Oppenheimer, but now I feel like maybe I should. I think you should. I think it's well worthwhile watching movies that are exploding with truth, which these 2 films are. Don't Worry, Darling is exploding with truth, and these 2 films are. And Once Upon a Time, Westworld. The ones that have a little bit of truth here and there, you're not going to get enough out of it. But these ones, you will get a lot out of it. So, yeah, I definitely think if you're interested in truth and you want more information and you want to see these things, you want to see through the veil, I highly recommend it. And see what this does is, to me, these are the equivalent of religious texts. Seeing through the, I guess the veil, seeing through the superficial story to the true story underneath is the equivalent of religious texts. It's all the same. So what I find beautiful about this is if you're not interested in religious texts, you don't understand them because some of them are convoluted and weird, then watch a movie and decode it because it's the same thing. Or read about the myths, read about fairy tales, read the stories. If you don't like watching movies, read the books because the stories are all the same and you will find the same underlying story in all of them. So, I find it equally beneficial, if not better, to watch a movie because it's shown to me and it's pretty magical the way that it's shown, and you can visualize it. And in visualizing it, I mean, you can visualize it if you read a book as well, but it's easier when it's shown to you. And I like that it's shown to me because it's the system showing it to me. And these like sort of stodgy, stiff religious texts can get a little bit dry sometimes. And the movies and TV shows, like, wow, this movie called Barbie has all of this richness to it, or this movie Don't Worry, Darling has all this richness to it. Free Guy is loaded with truth. So, but you need to know what the myths are. You need to know what the God stories are in order to find it underneath. So you don't need to know like every single myth, but the more you know, the better. And honestly, I find the Anunnaki myths are way better than Greek myths, not so great. but everybody understands the Greek gods and understands those stories. Roman, same kind of camp as Greek. Egyptian and the Anunnaki myths, Sumerian, are really rich in detail and rich in allegory, and you can get a lot more out of them. And also, I find them purer because they're older, but because the gods haven't been diluted yet. So they're the more, like, the closer you get to our time, the more diluted the gods are, because there's more of them and they get divided and split and stuff, and so it gets a little bit confusing. But it's whatever draws your interest is what you should look at. And like the first time I read the Anunnaki stuff, I was like, this stuff's garbage. What is this? This is total nonsense. But now I understand how to read them, because you can't read it as, like, reading it as literal. It reads like a child's story. It's so goofy and weird and doesn't make any sense. So you have to know how to read it. You have to read it as allegory. Same with the myths. You have to read it as allegory. Adam Gross, more interestingly, the Miami team is represented by herons in their lodge, their logo badge. Herons are very symbolic in mysticism. They represent, in Buddhism, a heron symbolizes purity, transformation, and the wisdom of the Buddha. In addition, as a bird that transcends elements, earth, water, and air, the heron symbolizes the expansion of awareness and the ubiquity of consciousness. The bird also symbolizes renewal and rebirth, an ever-present reminder that we are all part of a larger cycle of life and death. Lionel Messi is literally the most well-known man on the planet. I don't know who he is. I mean, Andrew Tate said he was the most famous man on the planet, and I didn't know who he was when he said that, but I do now. But that's all interesting. So Messi is like short for Messiah, and Lionel is lion. It's interesting to say, like, about the heron. I have a heron that flies overhead here. It's been doing it for several years. Natasha, this realm is one big drag show where we have the masculine parading around as the feminine. Rainbow Warrior, I've been called an Archon. I'm O-negative blood, so maybe I'm reptilian. I don't know anything about the whole bloodline stuff. Like, I don't even know what my blood type is. I have no idea. And I don't know if there's any truth to the blood type stuff. I've heard different theories and everything, and it just got so confusing and convoluted. I just couldn't get any deeper into it. And I don't know that, I mean, maybe it matters. I don't know if it matters. I think what matters more is the type of person you are and who you are inside. I would usually look for truth in science fiction over other genres. Steinwins. Yeah, you like science fiction and you can find truth there. There's a lot of things, like Stargate. The movie Stargate's got a lot of truth in it. Gods of Egypt is a really good one. I wish there were more movies on Egypt, and I wish there was a movie on the Anunnaki, like a really good one, But they don't seem to touch on those very much. There's a few on the Greeks, and unfortunately, usually when they get into the god stories, they usually do a bad job. It becomes kind of tacky, hokey. Gods of Egypt was pretty good, and there's the one that I keep referring to, the Clash of the Titans, or Wrath of the Titans. That was it. The Wrath of the Titans. That one was good. There's very few that are like really good. Like I'm really shocked because the myths are so rich, and you would think that they would just keep going back to that, but they don't. And I don't mean like retellings or sort of different versions of it. I mean like a literal telling of the gods as the gods. And I did like that Wonder Woman touched on it a little bit, but it would have been nice if she touched on it a little bit better. I mean, it's Wonder Woman though. It's not supposed to be about that. Roger Prescott, if brave is the same as lion, is the lion the heart chakra? No. I see lion is the sun, Leo, but maybe somebody has a different opinion. I've never heard of You've never heard of Don't Worry Darling? Do you watch my channel? I would go watch it. Highly recommend it. Rainbow Warrior, Barbie is the first movie I've been excited to watch in a long time. Me too. I gotta say, like, I had heard about Don't Worry Darling in the hype around it, and then but because of the hype, like I hadn't really been all that interested because of the hype. But then when I saw the trailer for it, I was excited to see it. And unfortunately, I only heard about it months after it was released. But same with Under the Silver Lake. I hadn't even heard of that until years later. So I don't keep up to date on movie releases. But this movie release was kind of in your face. It was everywhere. Adam, Barbie's going to covertly red pill a ton of sorority girls, and I'm here for it. Yeah, I think so. Do you have any book recommendations on the Anunnaki myths? You can find the Anunnaki stories, and I recommend you go to the source. Don't read some like Zachariah Sitchin crap. Go to the source, read the actual texts, the translations of the text, and you can find that online for free. I think it's like in an Oxford resource. Just search for the Anunnaki text PDF. There's the Atrahasis and the Enuma Elish. If you search for those titles, you should find a link to the database that has all the Anunnaki texts, and go there for that information. As far as a book, I haven't been able to find one. I've been looking. I haven't found one. I want it to be as pure as possible, and I don't want anybody's like stupid interpretation of what they think it means, because they won't have it right. They'll take its superficial value. They'll say, "Oh, these aliens, they came from outer space and they came here mining for gold." No, it's not about that. And I don't want your interpretation. I want the translation, and that's it. So I haven't been able to find one. I can't recommend one. Go to the website with the raw text that are translations. You can also argue that the translations have been translated inaccurately, but it doesn't really matter because the truth will still come through. So that's what you're after. You're after the allegory, and it will still come through. Rainbow Warrior, would love to hear more about Anunnaki. I find that topic fascinating. Andrew Tate barf. Yeah. I find it fascinating too. And I'm going to get into it, I guess, a little later on. But there's a channel you can watch. He talks about Anunnaki I think his channel name is Spirit of God, and he talks about the Anunnaki. He has written a book. It's you can order it online. I haven't ordered it. I'm considering ordering it, but it's a compilation of his personal experience with Anunnaki. So he says now he has some great insights. So some very short videos. He talks about how it's in the Bible. The Anunnaki gods are in the Bible. They are the gods in the Bible because all the gods are the same. So I appreciate his point of view and what he has to say. So his channel is worth watching. It's Spirit of God. So go check him out. There's another couple of channels I watch that have Anunnaki information, but I don't really listen to them as much. First of all, because it's not pure. It's more of like an interpretation, and they kind of take a little piece of information and make a whole long, like hour and a half long video out of it, or audio recording out of it. So I don't get as much out of listening to that as I do from Spirit of God's like 3-minute video. He's more raw. He sticks to the texts, and I appreciate that. Not that the other channels are bad. I just don't get as much out of it. Stein wins. I've been asking what my blood type is, and I still don't know, and I just had a blood test. Yeah, I don't know why it's such a big mystery. I even asked my parents like what their blood type is. My mom's like, well, I don't really know. I think it's this. So I don't know. It just made me laugh when I heard people say, oh, negative people are reptilian. Yeah, like I'm curious to find out what is meant by reptilian. Is it literally reptilian, or is it something else? Because there's okay, so you know the movie Anaconda, not Anaconda. Was it Anaconda? No, Wakanda. So Wakanda, they have these blue creatures who come out of the water, and they are supposed to, I guess, represent the fish people or reptilians. There's also ancient, it's not even ancient, it's current. You know, a lot of the tribes, like Aboriginal tribes in Australia and Africa, South America, they all talk about the fish people, the fish gods, who are tied to the reptilians and the Anunnaki. So they're all connected. Are they literally fish gods? Are they literally reptilians, or is it something else? Are they referred to as that for some other reason? That remains to be seen. So it's kind of a gray area, you know? The movie Poseidon seems to be about the trans-alchemical rebus head and its separation through a time portal. What? I can't say I see that. I don't even follow what you're saying. Trans-alchemical rebus head. Okay. Okay, I think I understand what you're talking about. So you're talking about like the rebus head is the one man with two heads. Is that what you're talking about? And it's separation through a time portal. Well, that's what's happened to us. we split in two. So that's like the two worlds that I was showing you was we split in two. Even in Barbie, they show you the two hearts. The heart's been split in two because it's one world above, one world below. So it's all the same thing. So yeah, I think I understand you now, but reading it, like I had a hard time figuring that out. Leo does rule the heart. Well, so does Venus. I mean, there's like the lion heart. Leo messy counterpart, which they debate who the goat is. Christio? You mean like, I don't know. You talking sports is psh. Oh yeah, I thought you were talking about Cristiano Ronaldo. Isn't he kind of like old now? And they're all put on by the system anyway, but I don't know the truth about blood types either, but it's strange how most people in this chat room are probably negative blood, if not O negative. It seems to be a pattern in people that are awake. That's interesting, Rainbow Warrior. Yeah, I don't, like I said, it would be interesting to do a poll if people are willing to share what their blood type is. Do a quick poll and see. Like I said, I don't know what mine is, so I can't share. But it'd be worth trying to see if that's true. Not everyone, but a good majority. I subbed after I watched your Under the Silver Lake video. Oh, thanks for telling me. Appreciate that. So now you can go watch my Don't Worry Darling videos. My understanding, Anunnaki created humans, but if that's allegory, then I'm not sure what it means. Yeah, that's my understanding as well. And yes, what that actually means, though. So yeah, they did create them, and this is what that actually means was because this is a story, it could literally mean that they created us out of this world because this is a fake world, right? So it's a story. It's a story of our awakening. It's the story of us falling asleep and waking up again. So if in the story we created these Anunnaki beings, so to speak, because they are us, and then they created humans so that we could hide in the human and forget who we are and then wake up again. Westworld does a really good job of showing that. And Westworld is the Anunnaki story. So, yeah, that's how I interpret it, is that it's the story can be somewhat literal, but the story is there to remind you that you're the one who created yourself, so to speak. And you created the humans to hide yourself in the human, to forget and then wake up again. But yeah, Westworld is the Anunnaki story. Motion and color, hello. Welcome. Rainbow Warrior found it, sub to him, thanks. Oh good, you found Spirit of God. Okay. Adam, Heim means home in etymology, open home, Oppenheimer. Thanks for that, Adam. I didn't get too deep into all of it because after I watched the movies, I plan on doing another decode of those movies anyway, because I think there's going to be a lot in them. So, but I wanted to address the similarities and the positioning of the two together in a single video and talk about it on the opening. So later on, I will come back to those two movies and I will do another decode. So yeah, thank you for explaining the etymology of Oppenheimer, because it's about opening the portal to home. So that makes sense. Reptilians, they are meaning Anunnaki bloodline. I think of all stories and metaphors, are we really to believe things we cannot prove? I don't know what you're talking about, believing things we cannot prove. I don't believe things, and I prove what I show. So, and yeah, define proof, because you have to go within. My proof comes from within, and I also get proof from the other side. So, Nolan Owen, I think reptilians, also known as lizards, is code for wizards. Could be indeed. I mean, lizard wizard. There's something going on. You know, whatever it is, just let it be. I bring it on. I just want the truth, whatever it looks like. And, you know, if it's ugly, it's ugly, but I can't be ugly. Everything that I have researched, everything I have looked into, everything I have come across has pointed to love and beauty and truth. And so, you know, if there's anything ugly, we're in it already. We're in it already. Rainbow, that's why they think all the presidents in royal family are O negative, because they're descendants of Anunnaki. Well, we're all descendants of Anunnaki. So, I mean, depends on how you look at it, I guess. There's like this, you could look at it in terms of like Geppetto and his puppet. Like, there's the bloodline group, and then there's the ones they make. So in Westworld, for example, they have the humans from the other world, and they have the humans are the ones who are making the robots, which is, so you have the humans from the other world, or the Anunnaki who came from the other world here, created the humans or the robots, and then they wanted the robots to awaken, and so they were implanted with the seed to awaken them. And so that's the story, but it's the story we told ourselves so that we could forget who we really are and put gods above us. So it's not that it's not true, it's true, but the greater story is that the person who created it all was Dolores. She created all of it. Direct experience. Well, I don't really know what you're referring to. All stories and metaphors. I have direct experience. So if you don't have direct experience, then it's a belief. And so you need to get direct experience in order to know. And if you're in the position where you're going off belief, then you're not going to believe it. You're not going to, because you have to know it. So if you don't know it, then you're going to have to find the direct experience in order to know it. Don't go off belief. I'm not asking you to go off belief. I'm asking you to know. So I'm showing you what I know. I know that this is true. If you can't see that it's true, you have to have that experience. So if you're in that position where you think that it's all just a belief, then you're not there yet. So I can't do anything to get you to see, because you need to get to the point where you know. Rainbow Warrior, I am O negative. All wizards are O negative and reptilian, therefore I am a wizard. Cool. No, but it's interpreted by the individual only and would be of the God essence, too subjective to force others to believe. I don't get you. Yeah, I don't understand really what you're saying. Seems everyone looks for an angle to be the best or chosen. I don't know what you're saying. It seems like you're trying to say something without coming out directly and saying it. And it seems like you're trying to throw shade. So if that's the case, you're, treading on thin ice, if that's the case. I have no idea what my blood type is. It's interesting, though. I'm curious, but not enough to get a blood test. Yeah, I'm not going in there. I'm not going to go. I'm not going in the hospital or anything. I know 3 RH that are very intuitive, but still have no idea what's going on in the world. Yeah, I don't know anybody's blood type. I can't, I don't go up to somebody and say, hey, what's your blood type? And then I can't go and compare to other people and what their blood types are and say, well, these people are like this and these people are like that. I have no clue. If we think of ourselves as ascending rather than descending, just part of the legal world of terms, we are ascending, and that's what we discuss here. For me, knowing is feeling it in the body. And when I see or hear something like a really big yes, yeah, there's a recognition. It's like a core recognition. Your heart knows. So I'm B negative, but I've always thought of myself as rather chipper. ORHD positive, O positive. Okay. So what was the hypothesis? The hypothesis was probably negative, or O negative. Negative or O negative. So we got an O positive here, an AB negative. So already we got all over the place. O positive, AB negative, B negative. So yeah, kind of all over the place. I do find it fascinating, though, that there are different blood types. So, I would like to know more about blood types. I don't have time right now, and my focus is on other things. And I did look into it some time ago, like I said, but it just got very confusing. A lot of theories that can't be proved. So I kind of lost interest. it would be great if there was an actual, scientific study or something to say, here's the differences between these types of people. There might be. Bubscat, OB negative. Very funny. It's fascinating, but for sure don't think anyone is better than anyone because of blood type. I just thought it was interesting. I agree. I think it's interesting. Like I said, I haven't come across anything concrete that has said that, this blood type is this way, this way, this way. I don't know. Somebody finds anything, you can send it to me. I see Stephen Perkis is here. He said something and then he took it away. But hello, Stephen. Mine's more caffeine than blood at this point. I still haven't been drinking coffee, and I find like coffee is dehydrating, and I have felt a lot better after not drinking coffee. I do like my coffee. I like the flavor of coffee, like the taste of it. I like drinking coffee, but I haven't really missed it. And they say like if you go off coffee too rapidly, you could get headaches. I haven't had any headaches. I haven't had any withdrawal symptoms. I haven't been tired because of it. But I never was somebody who woke up tired and needed coffee to get going. I did find that coffee would give me an extra boost and keep me kind of hyper focused, but I don't really feel much different having gone off it. I'm not saying that I'll never go back to drinking coffee, but for now I'm taking a break at least because it was so dehydrating. But I was also concerned that coffee was, preventing me from absorbing nutrients and that sort of thing. So I just thought I'd take a break, see if there's a difference. So far, it's been a positive experience. Occasionally, I feel like, oh, it would be nice to have a coffee, but I have tea instead, and tea's not as dehydrating. So I still have, the experience of having a hot cup of something, but occasionally I get the feeling like, oh, it would be nice to have a coffee, but I don't really miss it too much, and it's been a pretty good experience so far. But I have to say, the last 3 years I've had to go through major diet changes, and it's been kind of awful and kind of boring. I'm on a very boring diet, and every now and then I try to stray off of it with kind of icky circumstances. So I'm tired of eliminating things from my diet. I'm tired of experimenting. I'm tired of focusing on food. I'm tired of having to deal with that. So I'm just kind of sticking with what I've got and trying not to think about it too much. So it kind of sucks, but I have to do it. So anyway, that's my caffeine experience. RH null is supposed to be the rarest according to another YouTube video I watched. Steinwins. Yeah, I don't know. I know there's a rare type. So, I mean, this is the other thing. The RH they tie to the rhesus monkey, which is some other, nonsense. But then, that ties back to the Anunnaki claim that they used monkeys to create humans. So, but in the Bible, it doesn't say that. In the Bible, it says that they made humans from the dust of the earth, and so there's two Genesis, right? So, in one story, they fashioned him out of clay or whatever. So the Egyptians show that they fashioned him out of clay, and the Anunnaki show that. So that to me says that it's made out of like the dust of the earth, in the sense of it's made out of the material in this world, what are the fabric of this reality. So whatever that happens to be, it could be anything. And another one says he pulled the bodies out of the ground and breathed life into them, which sounds like resurrecting the dead. So, you can look at it in a few ways. Here, the humans were created out of the material of this realm. If we're looking at this as a simulation, fake world type of thing, dream world, then they were created out of the fabric of this reality, whatever that means to you, in the sense that, if you say you look at it in terms of a movie that you're watching, well, the beings on the TV are made from the fabric of that reality, which is light pixels on a screen. So the other world, which is supposed to be, so the womb is on the top and the tomb is on the bottom. So if you're in the tomb, you're going to die in order to pop back up. So you come up out of the ground into the other reality, where you see Alice comes up out of the ground back into her reality. When you come into this world, you come in through the womb. So you're birthed into this reality. And so that's how I interpret the two, because I don't have a solid answer to say that this is indeed the only way that humans were created here. I just see it as we're part of a story, and we're created out of the fabric of this reality. It's hard to read between lines via text, so for people to understand clearly, it's better to spell out what your point is, Adam. Stephen Perkins, I was changing my name back because I felt it weird being called PDA Pioneer. Yeah. Bub's Cat Dome is coffee flavored morning breath. Well, yeah, I don't have that, but I wouldn't miss it if I did. Jason Christoph talks about coffee. I don't know who he is. Wouldn't the dust of the earth be atoms? Atom. Yeah. I mean, all is a tomb. Atom is basically the torus field, the light, same thing as the fabric of this reality, same sort of thing, yeah. Miriam, going to bed now. Early rise. Thanks for the talk. We'll listen tomorrow. Bye, Miriam. Thanks for joining in. So yeah, like, you mentioned like the rarest, and it's interesting too, because it would be really fascinating to find out what is the defining factor in those who awaken and those who do not. What is there a physiological difference? Is there something that we can point to that says this person is designed to wake up and this person isn't? Is it down to blood type? Well, we just did a quick poll, and there's all sorts of different blood types in here. And not that not that sample size was huge or anything, but there's quite an assortment here. And or is it just random? Is there no physiological difference whatsoever? What I think it is, I think that it's based on who you really are. And who you really are, you're born into a body that is part of a family that fits your story, and you're born on a certain date to a certain name that reveals who you really are, and you can't escape it. So I think that that's the determining factor. It's the essence of who you really are, and those around you may or may not be real. So the chances are that they're not, but more like projections, like memory projections or dream projections, so that you remind yourself of who you really are, because you're telling the same story over and over again so that you remember. And it's like in Westworld, where Dolores is reminded of who she is because she manifests Teddy, and Teddy reminds her who she is. And he's not really there, though. She manifested him. So she realizes that she had manifested all the people around her. None of them were real. So, there's just so much. There's so much in there. But yeah, like that's what I think it is. I think it's the essence of who you really are, and it has nothing to do with, your physical constitution. But I'm open. I'm open to hearing it. If somebody provides with some sort of study or some proper research, would be great. Um, 344. I'm an Atom girl in a Barbie world. You're really enjoying this, aren't you, Adam? Yeah. The thing that it surprises me how identical a lot of the visuals and things in Barbie world or Barbie are to Don't Worry Darling. The fact that I've talked about the close and the key and the keyhole and the close in the triangle video, and but to see that the street that Barbie lives on is identical to the street that Alice lives on in Don't Worry Darling. I mean, it's kind of weird. I know why, but for it to look that identical down to the lampposts, the housing, the design of the houses, the palm trees behind. I mean, they're both in the desert. I mean, the Victory Project's in the middle of the desert. Barbie Land is in the middle of the desert. And then the Oppenheimer town was in the middle of the desert. It's in the middle of nowhere. So it's just bizarre. And, I've been showing the one story for over 3 years now, since 2020. But it seems like, movies like this are clearly showing the overlap. They're clearly showing, identical scenes. And one of the things that I'm going to be showing in Johnny Depp material I'm putting together is how there's identical scenes across his movies. I mean, I did show this already in some of the footage I did in the short videos I put out. And, the woman on the train, for example, I did a short of that. And you put the scene side by side by side. The woman on the train in The Tourist, the woman on the train in Ninth Gate, and the woman on the train in the Murder on the Orient Express. All three scenes are identical. And they're identical because it's telling the story of who he really is. So once you understand that, it makes total sense. But when you don't understand that and you look at that, it's just like, how the hell? 3 different movies telling exactly the same scene? What are the chances of that? Well, it's not physical, it's metaphysical. And so that has to play out because that's his story. And it's being told again and again and again. So it seems they're targeting the same kind of audience. Harry Styles being in Don't Worry Darling wasn't a mistake. Yeah, you're right about that. Harry Styles, I mean, Don't Worry Darling won the People's Choice Awards for Best Movie, which is a youthful awards program. Only young people care about voting for movies. And so the reason that they voted for that was probably because of Harry Styles. I mean, those kids, I doubt very much that they get, generalizing here, the allegory of the story. And a lot of people, I mean, that movie was heavily criticized by critics and by audiences alike for being a total mess. Because if you look at it from the superficial perspective, it would read that way. But that movie won Best Picture for People's Choice Awards. And it's probably because of Harry Styles. And Harry Styles did a really good job, I think. And he gets criticized for being kind of stupid. I don't really like his, public persona very much. But I don't know a whole lot about him. And I don't know a whole lot about his music. But in that movie, I thought he did a really good job. But Florence Pugh did a fantastic job in that film. She was amazing. And I think she deserved to be nominated for Golden Globe at least. They're not preaching to the choir. Yeah, they're reaching for the young people for sure. Yeah, you thought he was great too. Yeah, I thought he is great. Glenn Bordeaux, hello. Nowhere, the domain of the screen, if you will. Nowhere, the domain of I. Can you explain? I don't quite understand what you're saying. Well, it's interesting because Barbie definitely appeals to, I think it would definitely appeal immediately to girls and young women. But I think it will appeal to a lot of people in general, even guys, even if it's just because there's going to be a lot of girls in the theater. But I think, I saw a review of Barbie by a, I guess he was like late 30s movie reviewer, and he raved about it. And this is a straight man, late 30s, raving about Barbie. And, he went in with an open mind. He's a movie reviewer. And so, but he said it was fantastic. And he's like, I can't even think of anything negative about it. I can't think of anything I didn't like. And he said there was one thing at the end that kind of didn't make sense to him. So it's probably esoteric. But overall, he had a fantastic time. Thought it was a great movie. He didn't put any spoilers in, so I didn't watch any other reviews because I don't want spoilers. But the fact is that middle-aged straight men are watching this movie and loving it. So if they're putting out reviews and they're recommending it, that will mean that more middle-aged straight men will go watch it. The pure feminine, divine feminine, waking up that aspect in the masses in men and women. Yeah, I agree for sure. It's absolutely about that. Yeah. Which again speaks to what I was talking about earlier about how, Barbie being this ultra feminine image and bringing that back and making it popular again is about the divine feminine and bringing that out and bringing that back up. So it's and men and women for sure. So it'll be interesting to see what happens as a result of these two films. And what I was going to say too is like Oppenheimer kind of targets the more mature audience, the more serious audience. Like Barbie appeals to the fun and Oppenheimer the serious. And so the more serious, more mature crowd will probably go see Oppenheimer, and the younger crowd, the ones with, like, I just want to have fun, we'll go and watch Barbie. And I think you could benefit from seeing both, that's for sure. But I think too, like, I would have expected my parents, for example, to want to see Oppenheimer. They went to see his previous film, which was Dunkirk. But that was because my grandfather was at Dunkirk, so my dad wanted to see the film, but he found it a little bit disappointing because it turned out to be a love story. But, it's the same director, so it would appeal to that crowd, I would think. The target will be young women, primarily the untouched by the world and the ideologies, sneak in the esoteric truth subconsciously. Yeah, like I said, I'm interested to see how this, like, what the fallout is and how this plays out. And one thing that I didn't hear from this guy who reviewed Barbie was how it affected him. He said it did stay with him, so that's important. The fact that he woke up the next day and he said that the first thing he thought about was a scene from Barbie. So if it's staying with you, that's massive. That means that there's definitely something in there that's striking the subconscious. And if these people are not, there's not something that's stirring in them immediately, it might be something that comes up later. Or maybe they're NPCs and they're not supposed to awaken, so they're just delivering the message to get the ones who are supposed to awaken to go, if there's like a last ditch effort for those people who are supposed to wake up and have not yet. Still trying to get my head around 10net. I've seen it at least 10 times. I love Nolan. I saw Tenet once. It was a pain in the butt to watch, I tell you, because I had a hard time finding a place to watch it, and when I finally did, it kept buffering. So it was real pain to watch, and I find it really slow to get going, but there's definitely some interesting things in there regarding time and how that works, which is what he seems to play with a lot. He plays a lot with the mechanics of time, and he did Interstellar as well. So, and the one about dreams, what was that one? I forget now. So, he's done a lot of these very esoteric films with a lot of hidden truth. Even Batman. I mean, there's a lot in Batman too. So, Oppenheimer doesn't overly appeal to me in sort of general sense of like, I find that the trailer doesn't really have very much in it to draw me in, but just because of the amount of truth that I suspect is in there, I want to watch it. And I know that being a Nolan film, it's going to be fantastic, so I won't be disappointed. But I wasn't like, oh my gosh, I have to go see that. Barbie, on the other hand, I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to go see that. And not just because, like the visual appeal of it and everything, it appeals to me. If it was somebody else directing it, if it had been done in a sort of typical Hollywood fluff piece, I wouldn't be interested. But because of all the other components that are in it, I'm definitely interested. Inception, yeah, that was it. The independent self, the I, seems to me to arise and awaken in the desert. Barbie, don't worry, darling, where we have the chance to see that it is all about our own power, nothing external is real. Yes, thank you, Glenn. Because in the desert is meditation. Because when you're in the desert, you have no thought. In the desert, there's nothing. It's just dirt. So yeah. Sun Tzu stopping by. Hello, good to see you. Sun Tzu, you left a really great comment, quote on the Barbenheimer video that I really appreciated, which I commented on. Can't remember what it was now. It was something to do with seeing beyond the veil into the truth that's hidden behind these sorts of stories, and how doing so helps you to awaken because it reveals truths. So the whole the path, Jesus says, I am the way, the truth, and the life. It's not just one thing. So the way means you have to follow what he says, follow his teachings, which is essentially meditation and opening a single eye. And the truth, you need to find the truth. You need to follow to find the truth. So the truth also helps you to awaken. And the life is the cerebrospinal fluid that gives you life. It's the eternal life. So, all of those components need to be there. And a lot of people overlook the truth as a key component in awakening, but the whole point of what we're going through is to change the mind. And so you need to go through the ascension process in terms of going through the layers, and the layers of like peeling off the veil of deception and the illusion as you ascend up the layers. You need to go through different phases of awareness, and how the truth literally sets you free by doing so, because you go through this process. Like the alchemical process also comes from knowing the truth, and it fundamentally changes you within when you come to these realizations, and you see something new, and it just destroys. Like it's like little explosions within you. It literally destroys the towers within you, like 9/11. And brings down the duality illusion, but also simultaneously builds the single tower within you and restores you to the one story, restores you to home, because you start to remember who you are. So you're tearing things down and also building things up. And, you get to a point in the beginning, it's all tearing down. And then you get to a point where it's tearing down and building at the same time. And it's incredibly painful. But with every stage, your perception fundamentally changes and you see the world in a completely new way. But it also fundamentally changes you within. And so your perception changes because you change. So what you see is completely different. And I've talked about this in my Ascension series videos, but a lot of times these potentially false light teachers, I don't really like to call them that. I mean, they're all trying to do their best, but I mean, some people are deceivers on purpose. But what a lot of people tend to talk about the result instead. I don't, maybe you can do it that way, but I find that it's on shaky ground, because if you don't destroy your illusions first, like the Twin Towers needed to be blown up in order to bring them down to ground zero, to clear away the path for you to build the one tower in its place. It didn't, they could have just knocked one of them down and had one tower left up, but that's not the point. The point is to knock the two towers down, start from fresh, erase all your illusions about the duality, and then rebuild the new tower in its place, the one world, the new world. And so you have to do that within you. So, yeah, like, I don't know. I find it kind of funny, like, with all the little theories that everybody has about 9/11 and how it's a satanic ritual and all this stuff. And I'm like, no, it's not. It's just part of the story, telling you to tear down the twin pillars of duality and build the single one in its place. So, yeah. I wouldn't say nothing external is real. I mean, define real, because nothing is real. I mean, what is real? The essence of you is real. I mean, this experience is real. So, I mean, I don't know. I think the word real needs some definition, because the way I see it is that it's an illusion, but that doesn't mean it's not real. It's like saying that time isn't real. I mean, you can say that about pretty much everything. It's like, yeah, it's not real in the sense it's not physical. It's not real in the sense that, like, what we see on the surface is an illusion. It's the twin pillars of duality are presenting an artificial construct, an artificial story for us to get lost in and get caught up in. And that's not real. What's real is underneath. What's true is probably, for me, what's true is more definite, more defining. I'm more interested in what's true, and what's true is underneath, and that's the one story. And so, yeah, like, this world is not true. It's an illusion, but the truth lies underneath which will help get us home. So the experience is real. But yeah, it's not, it's not real. It's an illusion. To me, it's like when you go to the movies and you watch a movie, it's not tangible. It's not something that you can, pick up and put in your pocket, but you get an experience from the movie that can profoundly change you, and that is real. So I think it depends on what you define as real. But yeah, because to me, the illusion delivers the message. The illusion is like a message delivery system, and so what's underneath can't be delivered to you without the illusion. You know what I mean? So it reveals the real. It reveals the real, even though the surface of it is the illusion. So but yeah, like there's different ways of looking at it. I just think that it needs some parameters set in describing or defining what that means. A catalyst manifested in the physical from the metaphysical. What are you referring to, Adam? Are you referring to what is real? Sun Tzu, thank you regarding the quote. I love it too. It was a quote from Gopi Krishna about the mind and vision perception changing in Kundalini awakening. Yeah. It's what I was talking about how when you come to realize certain truths in your ascension journey, it fundamentally changes you, which is the other Kundalini awakening. It's another layer to it. Not everything subjective is objective truth, but it doesn't stop it being real. 9/11. Right, yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's an experience, and that's real. It's like, my relationship with my family, that's real. So, I mean, while we're here, it's real enough. It's like in Free Guy, the guy goes up to his friend and he's like, "This isn't real." And he says, "So what?" He's like, "I'm having this experience with my friend and I'm trying to help him. And if that's not real, then I don't know what is." And, yeah, it's maddening. I agree. It is maddening to think that this place that we're in isn't real. So what the hell is it? But I know I'm kind of at the place where, I was sitting in the park today and I was like, it's weird because I feel at peace. I feel very peaceful because I know what I know. And it gives me calm. It gives me certainty. And I don't know if I actually said this because I was getting to the point, but I don't know if I actually got to it. But, trying to jump the gun and saying, okay, you can, if you detach from your body and you realize that you are not the body, you are the self, and you are the observer, and that sort of stuff. I tried that before, realizing all the truth and everything. And it's shaky foundation because, you can easily get caught back up in attachments in the physical, attachments to ego, attachments to, things in the world. Whereas the process that I've gone through in the last few years has fundamentally changed me in a way that I'm on a solid ground. I'm on a rock. You can't move me, because I know these things to be true. I've seen them, I've witnessed them, I've experienced them, I've felt them. You know, it's in me, it's to the core of me. You can't shake me. Whereas before, trying to do it the other way, you know, you could easily topple me over, because it was just like a belief. It was a, you know, experiment or something. It was like, it wasn't something that was rooted in experience or rooted in, you know, a profound perception change, a profound realization or memory. Whereas now, like, I've knocked my pillars down and I've built my new pillar. So you can't shake me now. So this is why you can't go on belief. You have to go on knowing. You have to know this stuff. And the only way to do that is to explore it yourself, to find out for yourself. Your interpretation of 9/11 is spot on. Thanks. I was referring to 9/11 in my previous comment. Yeah. You know, I thought about doing a decode of 9/11. Maybe I will at some point. I don't know. Just for fun. But people are very touchy about that, and so are the algorithms. But I think it would be very rich event to decode. But it's the same story, you know, it's the same thing. And, you know, the thing that bugs me, the thing that bothers me about it is this, the one building, was it building 5, which was supposed to be where they store the gold, and there was no gold in it. That bugs me. It's like, okay. And so you got the two towers, 1 and 2, building 5 and building 7 all came down. So there's some kind of coded message in there with the numbers and stuff. So yeah, like, that part would be interesting to explore, but gotta put it on the back burner. I got more important things to talk about right now. One of the comments I got on the last video was, I mean, the video was kind of short. It was 15 minutes, but I felt like it was pretty compact 15 minutes. And the comment was, just as you get going, the video ends, and I wanted it to keep going. And I thought, well, yeah, I mean, I could keep going, but not at this stage, because I don't know enough about the films to keep going. But after the fact, after I watch them, I'll talk about them more. But, you know, here's the thing, like, so far with Don't Worry, Darling, I have a 7-part series on the film, and people lost interest because it just kept going, and I still am not finished with it. And there's 2 other parts to it, so you could say it's a 9-part series. But I could talk about that film for weeks and never tire of it. But even with the Poseidon Adventure, that for those of you who don't know, it's on my website, and you can gain access to it if you contribute over $30, and as well as Dark Shadow stuff. So the Poseidon Adventure, when I went into analyzing that, I was kind of awestruck by the nuances in their conversation and in the dialogue. And that's why I took the time to include the dialogue. I thought it was really important to include the dialogue and to break it down and what they're saying and why it's important, because I didn't notice it when I was watching the film. I could see, when I watch the film, I can see the bigger symbols and everything, and some of the little things pop out at me. But it's only when I sit down and I rip it to pieces that I see the finer details. And that's when the gold comes out. That's when the gems come out, and I discover new things. And so that the dialogue, the things that Gene Hackman was saying and the things that Rogel was saying and the little, nuances of what was going on between these characters and why, was really beautiful and powerful. And to see the attention to detail. And this is what I mean, like, this movie is quite magical because it was just so effortless. It was so flowing and natural with the dialogue and everything, and yet it had all of this subtext to it, all of this allegory to it. And so discovering that in the dialogue was really exciting for me. So yeah, like, even that film, I could have kept going. I could have kept talking about it, but I gotta stop at some point. I gotta move on to other things at some point. I got so traumatized by events like 9/11, but I'm beyond that now, hopefully. Well, yeah, it's just a stage. It's just theatrics. So, I mean, I can understand it. It's just kind of a shocking thing. And here's the thing. Like, I was talking to my mom about this. Like, what is it going to take? What is it going to take to get people to see that this place is bizarre? And 9/11 didn't do it. 2020 didn't do it. Like, what is it going to take? And nobody, like, there's so many things going on here with, like, prices hiked, gas prices are really high, food prices are really high, weird things are happening, and still nobody does anything. People just go about their daily lives like nothing has changed. And I mean, I can understand that to some extent. A lot of people are just NPCs going about their lives, but I'm talking about the people who know. The people who know that something's off. The people who know that this world is weird and they don't do anything. Well, what are they doing? The people who are caught in the fear trap, the people who are, like, angry at the system. Why are they not doing anything? Do they think, like, protesting? I don't know. Maybe they are doing something and it's just not getting covered. It's not getting. But I would have thought maybe the alternative media would have covered it. Somebody somewhere would have mentioned it. No, I don't see anything happening anywhere. Claire Sunflower, you pack a lot into your videos. The first time I saw one, I thought it was over and then realized that was only the intro. Which video was that, Claire Sunflower? Was that was that Parallel Universes by any chance? Oh, that's funny. I do pack a lot in there because, first of all, there's a lot to say, and I can't tolerate watching a video where people drone on and on and on and don't say anything, or they, like, stretch out one tiny little subject and stretch it out 2 hours. And thanks for wasting my time. There's so much information to share. I don't have the time to ramble on about nonsense, and I don't want to waste your time rambling on about nonsense for 2 hours. So I make a point of packing in so much information in one video. And yeah, like, they're nutrient dense. They're nutrient dense videos, I think. So Yeah, I've had people say that your videos are so intense, like it's going to take me a bit to digest it. But like, you're welcome. You don't remember which one it was. Okay. Adam, aliens. What are you talking about, Adam? Nobody knows. Hi, probably missed loads, was stuck in Once Upon a Time. Well, thanks for joining us. Yeah, you have missed loads because I've been here for 2.5 hours now. But I'm glad you're here. I was watching you before I got here. I'm almost finished season 2. Me neither, especially for my overstimulated generation. It's a good pace for me. Oh, good. I mean, yeah. Sometimes it might take a few viewings to process everything. But I really appreciated videos where, they pack everything in, and I would take notes. I took notes for years, writing everything down, processing things, trying to understand it, making it all make sense, sifting through the stuff that makes sense and the stuff that doesn't. What's it going to take for people to see this place is weird, aliens? I got you now. Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah. Well, it feels like we're getting close to the whole alien thing, doesn't it? It seems like they're talking about aliens, and it does seem like something's going to happen with the alien thing very soon. And personally, I can't wait. I think it'll be fun. Like I'm enjoying the story. I'm enjoying the ride. I'm enjoying what's happening. Like I said, I started to say I was sitting in the park and I was just feeling very content and at peace, and whatever comes doesn't really matter so much. I sometimes still, I don't know what you are all feeling. Yeah, grab the popcorn if the aliens show rise, for sure. I think it'll be great fun. But I'd like to get your perspective on how you're feeling about this. But from time to time, I still have issues with the physical side, in the sense that I kind of lament over not having some of the trappings of the physical life. And then I catch myself and I'm like, okay, I have to let that go and not worry about it. And if it's meant to be, it'll come to me. If not, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. But still, like, sometimes it's tough. Sometimes it's tough. It's like it's very easy to get caught back up in the physical, to start thinking about things that I want or things that I need, or worrying about something or whatever. And then I get pulled out of it. And when I worry about things, it's more like a concern. Whereas before, the worry it could manifest in physical anxiety or fear. Not so much now. I'm kind of like, well, I have the truth and I'm comfortable in that, and that's a power. So I kind of keep reverting back to that. I love Once Upon a Time, but my gosh, it's so American. I love the message in the story. It's got everything, including cheese. If you have inner gold, so much more awesome. Build up treasures within. I'm working towards that. Yeah. I mean, I understand. So, okay. Oh, here's a juicy topic I wanted to touch on. I was watching a video and it touches upon some of the stuff that was being discussed in Discord, and we're talking about it kind of right now, is the idea of being between worlds. And I've talked about this before, but this is a different level of being between worlds, in the sense that now this person was kind of a new ager, talking about 5D versus 3D. So, whatever, same, different language, same idea. But it's to do with the old world way of doing things and the new world way of doing things. So because when you go through the physiological, mental, psychological, emotional changes, your mind is not in the old world anymore. You don't want to be a part of it. You don't gel with it. It doesn't make sense to you anymore. Kind of like what we were talking about before, about the three pillars, and you're in the middle and you're leaving the other pillars behind. And so these two don't make sense to you anymore. Well, this world is on the two pillars, and so it doesn't make sense to you anymore. So you don't want to be part of it. So you want to live in the new world, and you're already living in the new world, but you're still in the old world at the same time. So you end up having this kind of battle between, this is where I live now, and yet I still have a foot in this world because I still live in this world and other people around me live in this world. And how do I function with like the 3D needs and the 3D people, or 3D experience, the physical experience, and the physical needs from a non-physical perspective, from like the higher perspective? Because I'm having this issue in the sense of, especially like financially, in the sense of, well, this is a path, this is where I'm going, and this is where I live now. And I honestly feel like if I live this way, I might die. Like it just is so uncomfortable, so painful. It just, it rips me apart. So there's certain things that doing my best to align with the new and having to cut off the old, and yet still living in the old, is very difficult to try to balance that, or because you still don't really know how to live in this new world. There's still things you're figuring out. There's still things that like the way things come to you, you're supposed to allow things to come to you as opposed to going after them. Whereas like the 3D physical world, you want something, you go get it. And this world is more about cause and effect. If you do something, you get something. And in this world, you are something. So it comes to you or manifests because you already are it. So, trying to shed yourself of the, you want something, go get it, or cause and effect, and trying to be fully in this world where you just are it. It's still a struggle, still a little bit difficult. So I've struggled with this dichotomy intensely recently. Adam, yeah. So I'd like to know, are you struggling with this? Is this happening to you? And how is it showing up for you? What's happening? Because this to me is also representative of what we're talking about with the two worlds colliding. But it's also about like the two pillars becoming one. So the two, and this is also going back to what I said with the two worlds and 9/11. They didn't merge the two existing buildings. They knocked them down and rebuilt and built a new one. So even in the Bible, it says that the old Earth will have passed away and there will be no need for a sun and moon, which are the two pillars. There'll be a new Earth. So the illusion world of the split heart, two worlds, will disappear and the new world will be put in its place. So anyway, it's strange. I think we just have to be in the moment and stay in our hearts. Yeah, that's good advice. I mean, I keep reverting to same sort of thing, staying true to me, staying true to what I know to be true. But there's a little bit of fear there because you're treading in the unknown, and it's very easy to revert back to what you know and what you're comfortable with and what's familiar. Everybody I know is clutching to the old world and aligning to the new. I notice how much I still have to lie just to get along. Glenn. Yeah. Clutching to the old world. Yeah, I mean, the lying is painful too. It's the hiding, hiding the truth, hiding what you know, and not being able to talk about it. That's painful for sure. Maybe take a bit from I, once upon a time, believe in the magic, so to step into the new world. Yeah, I was thinking that too today when I was watching that show, and they were using magic, and I thought about that too, that the magic is going to come back, which is the way I see it is not necessarily that they're it's more to do with belief in magic, I think. I mean, law of attraction is kind of magic. It's this understanding the laws of the universe and understanding how the mind works. And so when you're in that state and you appreciate all of that and how that works, then you use the magic of the universe. It's when I'm confronted with other people's psychology and morality, the conflict is extremely hard. I do not align with this facade that people pop up with their own insecurities. Yeah. Well, this is the lack of authenticity. The more authentic that you are, the more the inauthentic appears to you because you're aware of it. And yeah, I find that intolerable too. Like the inauthenticity. And I think this is partly in line with what I was talking before about the, leaving the two pillars behind in the two foreign languages. I got to give a name to that so you know what I'm talking about. So I don't have to keep saying that. But it's like there's this sort of hollowness or inauthenticity that, they're not talking from experience so much as, or their experience is limited to the illusion, and you can sense that, you can feel the illusion, and because they're not even aware of the authentic path, they're not aware of the middle path. I mean, they might be intellectually aware of it, but they're not on it, so they don't know what that means. They don't know what it is. And to get on the middle path, you have to collapse the opposites. You have to merge the opposites. And you can't do that if you're in the fear, if you're focusing on, pointing blame at the evil elites and all that. So I find that that sort of feels inauthentic. It feels hollow. It feels fake, so to speak, even though they might think that they're being authentic, but it's more like they're trying to be, it's like they're trying to be spiritual, or they're trying to be what they think it is, in a sense. Or at least that's how it comes off. They might think they're being authentic, but that's how it comes off. I think sometimes the magic comes slowly in simple ways and people miss it. Steinwins. Yeah. And I think too, like the magic, like in simple ways, in natural ways too. And so you miss it because people will explain things away. So for example, it's like, I've told experiences I've had where I've manifested certain things. So, for example, when I was on vacation that one time and I said, oh, it would be nice if I had a glass of wine. And the waiter immediately came over and said, would you like white or red? And I never called him over. I never said anything. I had just sat down. He just came over and said, would you like white or red? So I never told him I wanted wine. So, it's just like instant. There's like little subtleties of magic there. And there were other times where I was like, well, I'm looking for this, and it just pops up. And so, those moments of magic that somebody would explain away, it's like, well, you just happened to be there, or you would have seen it anyway, or that sort of thing, which I used to do before I understood what law of attraction was. It's uncanny to those in shops during COVID, an illusion of power, and it exposes someone completely for who they really are, a lack of honor and integrity because they don't feel empowered within. Yeah. Ugh. Yeah. I'm amazed at how easily I forget what it was like during 2020 and the evil that popped up in people's faces. And I don't like that term, but it's the lack of humanity is probably a better descriptor, because their adherence to rules and regulations trumps their adherence to common decency and humanity and empathy and any kind of relation to other fellow people. That whole experience was quite horrifying. It was pretty much like being in a horror movie without the blood and gore. And it was like being in a zombie movie. So yeah, like seeing the lack of humanity come out in people, especially people you thought you knew, was horrifying and quite disgusting. I'm seeing real symptoms of a lack of sovereign empowerment and authenticity within people every day, more and more. It repels me initially, but when I remove myself, I have to feel sorry for it. Yeah, it's cowardice, essentially. People are afraid. People are afraid of getting in trouble. They're afraid of authority figures doing something to them. They're afraid of losing their jobs. They're afraid of losing pay. They're afraid of all of that. It's very rare that you come across someone who has the gumption to stand up for what's right in the face of potentially losing their job, potentially getting a pay cut, potentially getting ostracized, potentially being hated. I've done all those things. I've been ostracized. I've stood up. I've spoken out. People don't like me because I spoke out. People don't like me because I was the one who said something was wrong. And it's just like I'm not trying to be the enemy here. I'm trying to stand up for myself, and I'm trying to stand up for others, and nobody's joining me, and nobody has the freaking courage to stay on my side and join me. So I end up being the scapegoat, which is so frustrating. And you just realize the cowardice in people. The people are so beholden to their jobs. They're so afraid of, well, what's going to happen if I lose my job? And a lot of times that's because they are really bad with spending their money. They're in heavy debt and they've bought things they can't afford. And so they have to be beholden to their jobs, which makes them a slave. And if you don't have a position where you can't stand up and do the right thing at the risk of losing your job, then you are a slave. And people don't like to hear that, but it's the truth. You are a slave to your job if you cannot stand in your authority. You cannot stand up against what's wrong. So, there's been times where I've stood up for myself, and I just don't even think about it. I don't think like, oh, I could lose my job if I say something. I'm like, no, this is wrong. And this is partly the way that I'm built. And maybe it's too extreme, but there's nothing I can do about it. But I've stood up for, against injustices and not really thought about the consequences. I'm just like, no, that's not right. You can't do that. You can't say that. You can't make me do that. And they don't like it, but I didn't get fired. So I think a lot of people have this fear of getting fired, which is irrational because you need a solid reason to fire somebody. And companies are more afraid of lawsuits than you are afraid of getting fired. And too many people suck up to their bosses. Where am I here? Evil is a void of what is good. Yeah. So I get it. I'm around people like this a lot just because they have a badge with a role on it. I don't comply and I don't allow myself to be disrespected. This is causing conflict. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think the whole role playing thing of this is my job. I'm just doing my job. And okay, to some extent that's acceptable. But when it crosses the line of human decency and being understanding of other people, yeah, then it's difficult. And I'm sure I've done stuff that's not in that category. I've been nasty to people because I was in a bad mood, or I wanted something and I felt entitled to it, so I was a brat. And yeah, I've done that, but I've learned since then. I don't do that anymore, I don't think. And if I do, I apologize. So yeah, I've learned from them, those experiences when I was caught up in the system and the physical, and thought that that's how things had to be and that's how you have to go about doing things. And so yeah, I've been a dick about some stuff because I didn't know any better. Nobody knows. Well, we did have the zombie stuff come up before CV, so again, it manifests in ways that we don't really expect. So maybe this aliens will manifest in a way we not expect. Adam, I feel like we're the aliens. We're from another realm. I had the same. We're alien to the others on the other pillars. Yeah. I agree with you. I think it may manifest in a way we don't expect. I don't think it's going to be literally like gray men coming from the sky. And if it is, that's like staged nonsense. But I also don't think it's going to be like reptilians or, scary stuff. I think it's going to be something else. So yeah, I agree with you. Like the zombie thing came out, but wasn't as expected. And yet like the whole CV thing, it was zombies. And so now the alien stuff is probably, like you say, going to manifest in an unexpected way. Maybe. No, that doesn't make sense. So yeah, like you say, we're from another realm, so we're probably the aliens, and it's maybe it's going to show somehow. I don't know. I've seen an extreme current. I'm seen as extreme currently, but I won't allow myself or others to be treated or spoken to with disrespect. And I'm always willing to leave my job. I've left more in 2020. Yeah, it's tricky because it's scary to be in that position. But if you're in a situation where you're a slave to your job, that's not a healthy situation to be in. You can't put yourself in that position. Like you can't put yourself in the position where you feel that if you lose this, then your whole world's gonna end. I know it's difficult right now, but a lot of times, a lot of people are not very creative with how they look at things, and so and it's easy to get blinders, so you could see that maybe there's no other options. I really need this job because I have kids at home, or I have a mortgage, or whatever the reason is, and you think that you can't find another one. There's all sorts of reasons that you can give. But if you're putting yourself in a subservient position because of it, that's not healthy. And so you gotta change that. Doesn't mean you have to there's ways to go about it. There's ways to stand up for yourself that doesn't threaten your job. There's ways to go about it that commands respect rather than, getting fired. You don't have to go and be a dick about it. So, but sometimes people don't take it well no matter what you do. But yeah, I've been there, been in these situations. It's not fun. We free. Hello, good to see you, TrueLove. Been subscribed for a few years now. Good to see you too. Thanks for joining the chat. Adam, feel it's going to be us realizing we're from another plane, and those left behind are going to be freaking. Ooh, yeah, maybe. I like the way you put that. Yeah, that makes sense to me. Yeah. Been trying to get my creativity back during the plan. I had no problem with it. During the plan? Oh, you mean 2020? Yeah. So yeah. Well, that's good. Creativity is important. Yeah, like the whole the whole alien thing. Well, yeah, okay, so tying into what you say there, Adam, I think that the fact that the Kundalini energy is referred to as alien, like Barbie is alien, like strange or foreign woman, that's the Kundalini energy. So anyone who has that could be seen as an alien, and so that could be it. And there's also yeah, that could be it. Rocket ship. Well, I mean, you could look at it in terms of the atomic explosion as well. So the strange alien woman is the Kundalini energy, and then also coming from above is the finger of God and the finger of Adam. They touch, right? So this is what I call the Kundalini connection. And so when that happens, maybe there's going to be some sort of great experience for worldwide for the awakened ones to look a little different and get a halo or something. I don't know. Maybe it's not outer space, but inner space. Yeah, split reality. It's a tattoo I have, God and Adam. That's a cool tattoo. So yeah, like, if you're talking about, something coming from above, like the Kundalini connection would definitely qualify as an alien invasion type of thing, right? So, and then the manifestation of the panic and the fear from the NPCs or the unawakened ones would make sense. So, yeah, it could be. What is your prediction about the supposed planned alien invasion? Do you think one will be staged? I haven't really looked into it, but I have heard others' theories. We are on a ship, yeah. It could be. There could be a fake one. There could be something. So there seems to be a lot of chatter in like conspiracy circles, truth circles. I've only heard very little of it about a pending alien invasion. There's a lot of talk about aliens, especially after the 2 plane videos. They're talking about reptilians and aliens and all sorts of stuff. There's just generally a feeling in the air about aliens right now. If they do something, I think that they're potentially, this is just a theory, I don't know for sure, it's possible that they could do something that appeals to all beliefs. So whatever your belief is, you will perceive it to fit that. So if it's some alien coming from the sky, Christians will say it's Jesus coming in the clouds. You'll just perceive it however it fits your belief system. That's possible. Also, the idea of, the 2 worlds colliding has to fit in there somewhere. And so we'll be able to see the other world. And I think that's part of it. So if we are seeing the other world, that's real. It's not staged. And according to Bill Donahue, it's going to look like an eye in the sky. So it it's going to be seeing the other world's heaven coming down. That's got to happen. There's going to be something that we see in the sky anyway. If I talk to the people around me, they block it out usually. I love the experience though. Yeah, because they can't even process it. All I in, alias, all alien, all I in, alias, alienus, belong to another from alias other. With the technology these days, a false messiah is very possible. Yeah, it's possible, but you know what? The way that people believe, if people are in belief, then they will project their beliefs onto something to make it what they want it to be. So if you want it to be a messiah, then it's easy for them to say that it is. I mean, you have people going around leaving comments on YouTubers saying that they're the Antichrist for saying certain things against a historical Jesus or whatnot, and it doesn't make it true. That's their perspective and that's their perception that they're projecting onto someone out of fear, and they don't even know what the Antichrist is. So they're just calling people Antichrist because they are hating on them. It's like, how dare you say something so blasphemous? And it's like, well, can't they have a difference of opinion? What's it to you? But anyway, yeah. Remember ages ago about seeing the cities in the sky, in the clouds? Oh yeah, wasn't that Project Bluebeam or something? It was some fakery about it or something. But yeah, like that's probably like subliminal programming or something. Training us to think that that's coming for sure, because it is. The etymology of alien. Yeah, well, alien means foreigner. It means that you're not from here, and yet they've made it into like these strange looking beings. Thanks, that's an interesting take. Sounds quite likely. Yeah, no problem. Love to hear your theories. What do you have to? What are your ideas? What do you think is coming? Alien also means someone from overseas or another land. I reported those things on an old channel. Which things? What am I missing? You reported Messiah sightings or something? I'm an alien in a Barbie world. That's right. Yeah. 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 I don't know. It's gonna be interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know about you, but it feels okay. With all the stuff that's been going on, it feels as if there's something close to the end of the story is coming. So, I mean, I don't know what that means in terms of time. I don't know if time even matters at this point. It's more to do with the story. To me, it's about the story and the time that it takes to tell the story and wrap up the story than it is about actual time. Barbie world is close. We're living in Barbie world. We live in Barbie world. The other world is close. Adam, hurry up, goddammit. Yeah. I know. It's like I'm just floored. I'm fascinated by how these movies depict the other worlds, like the two worlds. And like in Barbie, when they showed the heart divided in two, like that just floored me to see that. It's so subtle that only people who know will notice it. Like, I would like to have been in the process of that movie being made to see like what went into the decision-making process to create a table in a boardroom with the XX pattern all around it, and the table is a heart split in two. Like, where did this come from? The writers are on strike, so it might be a sign that it's not written yet. Yeah, I think that the writers' strike is a sign or a protest against the collapse of the story, the one story collapse. But of course, they can't say that, so they're striking against the AI. And should probably look into that a bit more. But like the whole, because there's not going to be need for any writers once the story collapses. So maybe the writers being on strike could be, like you say, a sign that this story is not ready yet, or it could be a sign that the story is ending, so they're not going to have any need for writers. But the story is written, like the whole story is written. It's all written, and even the writer's strike is part of the story. I don't know. Anything is up for grabs at this point. I do think there may be an event that attempts to appeal to all. Okay. Yeah, it's difficult to make predictions. I don't like making predictions. Or there's nothing left to write. I might go see Barbie on my own tomorrow. No shame at all. Totally not. Adam, you should dress as Ken. Definitely no shame then. Actors join them then too, so have no roles to play anymore. I'm all out of pink. Fluffy coat and black leather pants will do. There you go. Adam, you go dressed as Ken. I'll go dressed as Barbie. It's a deal. Take a picture. Yeah. I don't know. I just find it so funny. I find it entertaining. To go through all of what we've been through, like the agony of 2020, to come out of that and realizing, okay, let's merge the polarities, merge the opposites, and then get out of the fear. And then things started to become fun. And now we're in this place where we have a movie pairing that comes out, and one of them is Barbie, that sparks this whole like playfulness and fun again. It's really refreshing. And I don't know, kind of gives me a renewed sense of fun. When are you watching? We're definitely going to have to discuss. I'm not sure when I'm going yet, because I don't know. I'm supposed to go with a friend, so sometime this week. But yeah. Anyway, it's kind of fun to see how there's been this like playfulness come back with these films, but in the whole grand storyline of everything, it's nice to see. It's nice to have this like little bit of fun. I'm at my best when we're being tested on. What do you mean by that? I can't bring myself to ask the friends I have to go watch Barbie with me. I don't blame you. Alchemy? Maybe. I mean, look, a lot of people will look at Barbie and Oppenheimer and see evil. Um, you're going to see, if you're stuck in the illusion of the two pillars, you're going to project fear, you're going to project the illusion onto these things, and that's what you're going to see. So that's unfortunate, but that's where they're at. So maybe for us, we're in a different stage. So we're in the coming home stage, and we're in the playful stage. So it's fun for us. I can't imagine the Japanese are thrilled. What's Japanese got to do with it? Oh yeah, oh god, I get it. Well, yeah, probably not. I think you've inspired me to watch Barbie. My sister went to see it today. I sent her your video to see it first. You sent her my video. Is she awake? That's cool. I'm glad I've inspired you to see Barbie. I think it'll be fun. I think it'll be worth it. I think you'll get a lot out of it. And, it would be great if everybody go to see Barbie and Oppenheimer this week, and we'll report back next week and we'll talk about it. Sound good? Okay, cool. I'm like, yeah. I think I can watch Barbie creatively, but Oppenheimer needs to be a cinema watch. Yeah, I don't know. I thought you just said you were going to go see it. I thought you said you were going to go see Barbie. Yeah, it's cool your sister's both awake. Yeah. Well, I got to wrap this up. Any last comments or questions or anything? One day off a week. Yeah, we'll do a double. Oh, that would be painful. You could do a double bill. Any final comments, thoughts, questions you want to talk about before I wrap this up? Thanks for all your hard work you share with us. I love and appreciate you. Thank you. If you haven't liked this video, please like the video. And if you like my work, kindly consider contributing. And if you go to my website, there's a bonus for people who contribute over $30. The Dark Shadows and Poseidon Adventure videos are available to you, so I'll email that to you. So make sure you include your email address. I appreciate all your comments. I appreciate you participating in the chat today. As always, a pleasure. Nice talking with you too. You guys have some great insights and great comments and questions, and it's really nice to connect with everybody and get to know you better. So everybody go watch those 2 movies and report back next week, and we'll have a chat about it. In the meantime, go and enjoy your summer. If you're in Australia, go and enjoy your winter day. Thanks for watching. Bye, everybody.